Log in. All right, so the challenge. First of all, let's talk about this. In the footer of our site, we have two link sections, right? One is the general links and one is latest posts. The challenge is take what you've learned and make these things happen. This one you should absolutely be fearless about because it's nothing more than what we've already done, right? This one, you might feel a little fear about, but the truth of the matter is by the end of class, hopefully you'll agree with me that you already know how to do it. It's just knowing where to get the information, how to do it, right? How it goes. So with that said, what's happening here is you're going to go inside your Inside Out, your Me site, and you're going to recreate the general links for your WordPress site. We're going to call it General Pages. Everybody got that? We're going to nest underneath it, contact, privacy, terms, and frequently asked questions. We're not going to recreate them all. Any questions around that?
They're all separate pages, correct?
They're all separate pages. Content, steal my content, go grab content. Just get some content in there so you have something to see when it comes up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Christopher.
I just created it as general links, and I did put all of the pages.
So you're already off of the instructions, is what you're telling me. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Minus 500.
Yes. Off the zero that you get for not doing it right. And then minus 500 for being a cowboy.
Ouch. The math.
Fair, Jimmy?
It adds up. Fair.
You want content in them, right? So that when you go and click on them, that you get some information. We'll take care of how pretty things happen later. We want the functionality right now. Right? So furthermore, if I open up the index page and I come down, either way you do it is fine with me, but what I would like you to have a sense of, and we learned this in responsives, is if you notice, the links are there. The static links are there. So if I refresh, did you see how the links quickly blipped over? See that? Why would I do that? Let's start there. Why would I do that? Why would I leave and you be quiet? Because you're in JavaScript and it's why would I put the static links in and then replace them? Does anybody know? No, we don't want to see the change happening.
Is it just like safer? Like,
What if
you
Java-
improve it, you would add something that might have a chance of breaking. You want to leave something that doesn't break, and then you want to be able to
Right.
move on.
So one of the things we'll start to do for the rest of this class and through the rest of the classes that you have, and no, it's not always the most favorable, but right, this is learning, and we learn things the right way. And so when we're doing AJAX calls and we're populating a site, especially for a client, you don't have to do this all the time. I don't do it in all my sites, but if you're doing it for a client, your best bet is to go ahead and create that static site and then update it with the AJAX. Why create the static site first? The reason you create the static site first is so that if they have JavaScript turned off, JavaScript's broken, your resource is down, something isn't working, but they're able to get to the site, that they at least get something, even if it's antiquated content. And therefore, we'll learn eventually, not right now, but we'll actually put in there, hey, this page, information on this page was last updated on this date. And we'll put that there for the static content so that they're aware, like, huh, you know. And we'll put a little message in there too saying, hey, it appears JavaScript is not working in your browser, or that the information server is down, therefore the information you have was last updated, blah, 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 blah. Something like that. But it's more about learning principle and understanding, right? It's much better to have something there that's antiquated than nothing there. And so, point is, instead of going in and ripping all this stuff out, just let it there. Because what you're going to do is you're going to target this UL, general links, and replace all the LIs inside of it. Does that make sense? And when we know when we use document get element by ID dot inner HTML equals, what's the first thing it does? It removes what's inside of that element, right? So it blows away that content, and then it updates it with whatever inner HTML equals. Does that make sense? So we're going to work on these links and then the posts. So let's talk about how you might do the links first. Come on. I'm going to scroll down here. And by the way, 107 will be doing this. We'll be doing exactly what we're talking about. You'll do it. But the challenge is for you to do it and see what you can do, right? To see if you can take your knowledge and move forward with it. We already know about AJAX calls. We already know that we can go get a menu. And we know that we have this nifty little tool called Postman. Maybe. There it is. And we know if I go inside my IOP me, I already have this. And I can. It's pretty rude. Pretty rude, right? Pretty rude. I'll be calling the train company later today. We know that we can go in and get our menus, and we know that we can get our menu by drilling down to the ID of the menu, and because of that great plugin that we're using, right, it'll give us our menu in the order that we want it in. And in this case, I'm going ahead and I'm doing it with the menu ID that I created. I built my pages, I went into Appearance, I created my menu, I created a new menu called General Links, and then what I did is I included these 4 pages inside of it, as we can see, and they're just one layer, right? It's just one layer. That's where you should be able to do this hands down, no problem. I know, that's kind of a jerky statement, isn't it? But the point is, at this point, what you can do is you can copy this AJAX call that you do for your top menu, paste it right below it, and do everything pretty much the same that you're doing up here, except get rid of some of the fancy stuff, right? And we don't care about the loader showing because it's happening in the background, and we already have links there, and therefore we don't really have to talk about much. Bless you. Sneeze again and you leave class, all right? So the point is if I were you, I would come in and try to do this piece as quickly as possible just to see how much you know, right, that you've gathered. I would come in and just try to do this piece very quickly. There's another way. I'm having you do it this way. Yeah. Does it matter? What was that again?
I was going to copy the code here, but I was just curious if someone by accident posts that Ajax code on this current one here, would that affect it?
Well, it'll load that first. It'll do that call first, so you'll wait longer for your menu. And that might be a strategic way of doing it, knowing that you want that footer stuff replaced. Maybe you want to do that first, right? But I would do it after because it's down below the fold. You don't see it. Let it happen in the background after the page is loaded, and then people can do their thing. Does that make sense? Right? Excuse me. What I would ask you to do is to go ahead and do this challenge. I did not think through the get part or the posting part to production. We don't want to post it to our production because we're going to learn a different way of doing this in 106. But I wanted you to exercise what you've learned up to this point. So what I would ask you to do is go ahead and create, and I'll update the instructions, create a subdomain called 105-106 challenge or something. I'll update the instructions for that because we don't want to impede what we're currently working on. We just want to step outside of it and see what we can do. And therefore, additionally, I would encourage you to go ahead in your Git, right, create a branch and call it 105-106-challenge. I'll update the instructions on this. Sorry about that, guys. And create a branch. But you'll never merge that branch in. Does that make sense? Right? So you'll go work on the branch, and you'll commit everything on that branch, and you'll push it up to GitHub so that it's there for you and whatever as you're working. And what you'll do, though, is when you come back to master, you'll be right back at 105. All right? Because 106, I'm going to teach you a different way of doing this. But for now, we're positioning ourselves to move on to 106, and we're exercising some of our thoughts. 107 will be get posts. So, again, just do this all in the challenge branch and keep it in that branch. In other words, don't come back into master and merge it in. Don't do that.
When you say make a subdomain off of for your means.
On your server. No, just on your server. Go create new subdomain. I'll put it in the instructions.
And then you can copy over what you have on me over.
Yep. And as a matter of fact, what's really cool, if you really want to be a creative head, what you do is you go in and you add a server after you create that subdomain. And you check out the branch, 106 challenge, right? And then you push that up to your that server. Don't worry about it. Never mind. I'm not going to take you there right now until I can make a video of it. So, no. Point is you have 105-6 challenge checked out. Open up your files system to your 1xx folder because you have that checked out and drag and drop it in your new subdomain. Open your control panel and drag and drop it in. If you're not sure how to do that, I have no problem with helping with that, right? So don't be, but you saw me just do it actually, and I'll make sure I'll do it again here. Now you're not going to do it to your 106. You're going to create a brand. You're going to create a subdomain, but then after you create that subdomain, you can go into File Manager and go to that subdomain, right? So in this case, I'm just going to use 106 as the example for now. This is all going to get updated then. But all I did was open up and drug them into here. And to be explicit, here, I'll delete what's in there. And that's what you would do. So I'll make sure I put in the instructions, create a subdomain, and drop your branch files into that subdomain. Does that make sense? Again, it's a challenge, right? These are things that they need to challenge you. They need to make you more comfortable. The idea is to make you more comfortable with things that you're learning and not just following some video and having me tell you what to do, right? And I'm kind of am in here, but I'm not doing it in order, and that's why we're recording the class, and hopefully we're getting audio in there as well, which we are. Did that make sense to you, Don? Go in.
You're taking the files out of your WAMP,
Yeah.
www.1xx.
Yep. Because
And pull them over.
yep. Because I have that folder checked out. I have that branch checked out. So you're going to create a branch and you're going to call it 105-106-challenge. And you're going to check that branch out. And while you're in there, you're going to do all your work and your commits, right? Save and commit.
Yeah.
Are you following me?
Yeah.
All right. And then before you go check out master again, or if you have master checked out, go check the branch out after you create the subdomain and just drag those files in to your file system.
My problem is that we're taking this data from the ME site and we're interacting with our 106 site, challenge site. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, I'm not
still
sure
going-
where your
we're still
disconnect
going-
is.
So you're still saying we're still taking stuff from our MEIOP site
You're pulling stuff from your,
from there.
right.
Then we're gonna go back down and come back to this other subdirectory is what you're saying on the.
You got me,
I think
you
I
got me
have-
really
I have-
confused.
I think I haven't figured out what we're doing. Cause,
Just to be crystal clear. Master, which currently is at 105, right? You're creating that branch. Right? So when you create that branch, your file system up here under 1xx folder has the challenge files in it, correct? Because you have this checked out. When you have this checked out, anything you do in here is directly reflected in there. Does that make sense? Does everybody follow that? So my point is, while you're in here, you're going to keep all your commits in there. No merge. You're never going to merge it back to master. Does that make sense? No. Because what's going to happen is after the challenge, why I'm stating that is after the challenge, we're going to come out here and we're going to say 106. Right? And that stuff is just going to stay up there and live up there in your challenge branch forever. You're going to go out to Agabus. You're going to create subdomain. I don't give a shit what you call it, to be honest with you, right? But that's what you're going to submit is a link to the subdomain. That's what you're going to submit to your assignment. Is everybody following this? While you have this branch checked out, these files reflect that, correct? So after you create your subdomain, go into File Manager, drag and drop those files in. Does that make sense?
yes. So, what we're doing is, on Agabus, on our Me IOP site, we're gonna be pulling that down into the challenge, and then it's gonna go back up to
Well,
the,
get away from the Me site. All we're doing in the Me site is this. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean, but you're attaching something that
I got
Yeah, don't attach me to any of this. Me is where we're creating our gen links, grabbing our posts, right? And we're creating them gen links, and we'll use them in step 106 then, right? So we're not worried about that. But what you have to remember is that all that's happening here is you're making API calls to their back and forth. That data has nothing to do with any of this that we talked about up there. Keep going. Come on.
It has nothing to do with, other than that's where we're gonna go for the API.
Right.
Right.
So when we're moving the files around and stuff like that, that has, in the branches and stuff, the only thing that has to do with the me site is the fact that the link is in our code. Does that make sense?
I understand it now.
Okay, good, good. Do you honestly, or are you just shutting me down?
No, I honestly do.
All right. Well, I mean, if you're struggling, someone else might be struggling, and they're sitting there like, I really don't want to say this, but I'm gonna keep going, Don. Keep going.
When you said we were making a new subdomain, my question was, what are we doing with that? Are we like making a new MEIOP site?
No,
Not.
you're just making a subdomain.
We're just connecting our new challenge to the subdomain. Is what we're
You're pushing your files to the new subdomain. Yes.
Quick question, the 105-106, that challenge, are we gonna come back to it at all at any point, or can we use that as a playing ground?
When we're done, once you submit it and it's been graded, use it as a playground. Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, mostly what a lot of you guys should be doing is what I do, which is I create Area 51. I create a subdomain called Area 51. I create a repository called Area 51. I connect it just like we do with our site. Area 51 is where I will take 105 and drag it into Area 51 and play with it to come up with 106. Or, wow, I really like what we did in 106. I want to take that a step further, but I don't want to screw my work up. Drag 106 over to Area 51 and start playing with it. Does that make sense? And everybody at this point in this program should have an Area 51, in my opinion.
The challenge we're pushing up to GitHub?
I would push the branch up. Yep. It's not going to hurt anything. It's just going to sit there, right? Because we're not merging it back in. But that branch will always be there. And therefore, if you do start playing with it or something, it's there, right? But we're never going to bring it back into master. And the reason we're never going to bring it back into master is because after you're done making this big mess, right, trying to apply things that you've learned, in 106, we'll hop in there and we'll do the general links together in a video. And then we'll move on. In 107, we'll do the posts and so on and so forth. Make sense? Yeah? So let's talk about what you're going to do. First of all, and foremost, create the pages, create the menu. Okay? In 106, what's funny is we won't use the menu because I'm going to show you how to build it. In 106, I'm going to show you, we're doing this menu thing. I want you to remember what we learned up top, we're doing down here, and it's like, cool, all right, I understand this. And in 106, I'm going to say, okay, now watch how we build this menu just off the pages themselves, meaning let's make one call because we know we're going to have a maximum of 5-6 pages in general links. So the hell with it. Why make a call every time one of them is linked? Let's just go grab everything, make the menu, build the content, there it is. And so we'll take that a step further then. I want you to go in, and you should have posts in here. If you don't, because you didn't have the Web 100 or whatever, just go in and create posts. Brett, go in and create, I don't know, a bunch of crappy Dodge truck posts or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what the posts are. Create posts, and I want you to create at least 10 of them. And I don't care if you sit there and you're on a site and it's like 10 great quotes or something. You understand what I'm getting at here? Just get content out there. And the reason that I want you to get content out there is because we're going to see, how do we how when I'm on that site, when I'm on that news site or the weather channel, and that little widget pops up and it has, the 5-day forecast right there. How does that information get in there? How do I update that? And what we'll do is, like with these posts, is we'll put a little, in 107, we'll put a little arrow where we can say grab the next 5 posts. And it'll update the posts right inside there. So what you're going to do with the posts, let me stay here for a minute. What you can see is I just pulled posts, right? Pulled 5 posts, and they update in there just like you saw with the general links. They update themselves. Who cares if the posts aren't there? As a matter of fact, what will happen with the posts is you'll see in your code. What I would suggest that you do is in posts. You just create a div, call it latest posts. Why is it important to just create a div and call it latest posts? And also the class. Pay attention as you're doing these things, right? If your page looks this way in 105, a certain way in 105, and the way the links look in posts or in general or whatever, you don't want to lose the classes. You don't want to lose that information. You want to use that information to make your look exactly the way that it does. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? So let's look at what I mean by that. If I come down here, I'll close my menu builder. Other thing, by the way, up here, we'll do 2 AJAX calls in 106, and then in probably 109, which I'm hoping to get these out as quickly as possible. So we're going to do what we can up to the end of the semester, and then I'm going to continue adding to this, and it's up to you whether you want to keep going over the summer or not. But all my classes, every week I'm going to put 1 lesson up. And that's my goal. I'm also writing a Python class this summer, which I'm excited about. We know our get page. So, get post. We put this new function in. And what's funny about that function? Anybody? Look inside the function. Is there anything that, when you immediately look at that, what do you think?
You're doing it by order by, so you're sorting it by date.
Okay, I'm even looking bigger. Not to show you down, sir, but I'm even looking bigger here. It looks just like the AJAX call up top, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So again, we're using an AJAX call. One thing I want you to note as we're going along and think about is, holy crap, why do we got to rewrite AJAX code all the time? And so what we'll do in like 108, 109 is called refactor, which means we'll come in and we'll look at this and we'll say, oh, we have 4 AJAX calls. Why don't we just put them in one function and use some variables to use that function for everything? And we'll get there then. But what you're working on right now is getting those posts. And this is just a little bit different for you, because of the reason that you're getting posts, not pages or menus, and that's kind of new to you. But what's not new to you is, look, WP JSON, WP, V2, oh, instead of pages or menus, it's posts. Give me posts. The reason I'm pushing this into the challenge is I want you to realize what's funny is pretty much all the data points are the same as if it were pages, correct? Like when you look at it. This is important to note because as you become warmed up to this, when we get the refactoring, this is opportunity to write the same code for multiple things. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So what are we doing in here? What are we going to do to get these posts? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to say we want posts, and then we're actually going to add some parameters in here. So we're saying we want the posts, and then we put the question mark, which tells the system, hey, these are parameters now. These are key value pairs coming at you, And what's really cool about this is order by. Well, when we look in the API, sorry, hang on. When we look in the API and we go to posts, we see that we have endpoints, a method of get, which is exactly what we're doing, and then we have arguments that we can pass down inside, right? Hang on 1 second. Here's our arguments for posts. Arguments, get me a post by an ID. Get me a post, the date of the object was published, right? So only give me these posts on the date that the object was published. Read these. They tell you exactly what this is. Give me a post, give me a status, only ones that are published. Give me the ones that are in draft. Give me the ones that are private. Yep.
Is it Postman that's creating these? Comments? Or these are coded?
Nope, these are all coming out of WordPress. So when you write your API, right, when an API is written, one of the ideas of a RESTful API is that it's very user-friendly. Although you might not agree, but as you become more and more a coder, you'll overly agree, like, wow, this is awesome. Because we used to have to go dig into a PDF or a book to page 193 to find what the hell it meant, to get a post by a title. We're going to use a couple of these. And what we're going to use is order by, order, and per page. So this is where you should play as a developer. You should play exactly the way that I'm doing this, which is go out, go to your me site. Bless you. Sneeze again and leave my class. Look, order of posts is basically, this is the kind of playing you should do. You should be looking, go all posts. Okay, cool. I'm working with posts, all posts. If I come in here and I say, just give me all posts, what's the first post that I get? Hello world. My next question would be, what's the last post that I get? What's that, brother?
The last one you put, probably.
Right, but I'm teaching you how to learn here, so we don't guess. We just go and look. Christopher Spear is my last post. If I go out to my site and I look at this and I see Hello World's the first one, this is my me site, right? Published. Okay, I'm stumped for a minute. Oh, so look here. So let's back up. Let's look at this. Me inside out. Hello World is my first one. This is how we learn. Case for Christ is my next one. Civil disobedience is my next one. Right? So that's all kind of making sense, right? Why we're not seeing Christopher Spear is the big question now. All categories, all dates. Make sure he's not a page. He's not even in there. So how would I be getting him?
It's him.
What's that?
It's him.
I know, right? So I honestly am going to have to loop back with the answer rather than waste class trying to figure that out. Celestine Prophecy, Catcher in the Rye. Catcher in the Rye should be the next one. And I'm sure I know the answer. It's just not coming to me. And then after Catcher in the Rye, Walden. So we can see how these are being pushed out, right? We can see how they're coming out. And therefore, now what we can start to do is we can start to manipulate how they're coming out. And we can say, order by date. And let's see what happens then. What's our first one? Hello World. Why? Because that was probably the first one ever created. Case for Christ. So it's actually coming out in the order that they're laying there, which by default, I'm going to go ahead and guess that order by date it's highlighted. If I click it again, we can see that there's subtle changes, right? Order by date, order by date, order by date. The thing is, now, if we look at it this way, it goes from Hello World to Jennifer Savage. So if I say order by date, order ascending, let's see what that does for us. Hello World, Jennifer Savage. So do you see the correlation here? Right? Like I told order by date to go descending. By default, WordPress will put it ascending. So it's ascending, so oldest to new. If I flip that, Hello World, I think I have two Hello Worlds. That's where it's making it confusing. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. And let's really get rid of that. Yeah, I had me for a moment there too. So Hello World, Case for Christ, that's descending. So default is descending. Ascending. There we go. And we got rid of that one. So ascending is going to be Jennifer, Chloe, Austin, Troy. So if I come back here and I refresh my view, that Hello World 2 should go away and ascending, and it should be Jennifer, Chloe, Austin, the exact order in which they have corrupted my life. But the thing is, we have more than 5 here. And so therefore, we only want 5 up here. We only want 5 to come in here. Let's see if that changed at all. And it actually changed it because Hello World went away, right? So it actually updated to that. I'm not asking you to link them. I'm not asking you to anything. I'm just asking you to bring them in so that you get more familiar with this. Now, the way that we get to 5 per page. By putting the parameter per page and we say 5, it will only return the first 5 that meet that. So when it reaches out to the server, it'll say, hey, grab me posts, but only get me the first 5 that are returned from the database.
But since you want the latest 5, you want descending.
Ascending. Well, maybe descending. You might be right.
Yeah, because descending gives you the last one first, and that's what you want in the latest.
Jerk. He's right. I hate when he's right. I do. So in his case, in Mr. Donald's case, descending. The point is, whether you get that right or not, it's about playing with these things. It really is about playing with these things. The cool part is, those of you who want to take it a step further and put a little button down here, which we will do in 108, saying give me the next 5 to next 5. Only thing that changes there is this. I think it's offset equals 5. So the first one became Walden. And then if I say offset equals 10, the first one equals Brian Ross, right? So how would we do that using the same function? It's one variable. One variable. So in our string, we would actually write a variable, right, that we could say on click plus whatever that variable is by 5. And if you wanted to put a back button, the last 5, on click minus 5, right? So, but that's for 107. But those of you who really want to challenge yourself and try to, look, here's the thing. If you submit completely broken crap, but it's very obvious that you tried your hardest, you get full points. Period. I just want to see that you're trying to do this. I think many of you will surprise yourself. I think many of you will actually come back and be like, got those buttons, dude. I did that. I did this. I did. Hey, I made my post so when you click on them, it populates in there, right? But I don't want this to be full on stress. I want this to be, we've learned these things. I want to apply them. All right?
We'll have some fun with it.
Yes, right. Because if you can't have fun with this, use this as a marker. Like, do I want to continue in web? If this isn't fun to you, and believe me, I don't want to see my program shrink. I don't want to lose people. But if this isn't fun to you, then this might not be for you. Or if this is kind of fun to you and you enjoy all of it, but this part isn't so much fun for you, painfully get through it, right? If you really want to be a part of web, painfully get through it, get as much as you can out of it, and keep going, and start investigating Project Management Institute certification, right? Talk to me. Like if you're like, you know what, I really do like the web stuff. The coding just, I just don't want to do that the rest of my life. There are all kinds of opportunities that you can build on top of this knowledge with. So keep that in mind too. Don't just throw your hands in the air and say, screw it, what am I going to do with my life? If you don't know if this isn't fun to you and you don't know where you're going, please talk to me and let's make the most out of this that we can for you so that you have a good set of tools to go and do something in life with, right? To move forward with. But I just can't stress enough, this needs to actually be enjoyable to you, because this is what you're talking about doing for the rest of your life, 8 to 10 to 15 hours a day, depending who you work for, you know. Depending who you work for, 4 days a week. Depending who you work for, 8 days a week. You know. But come in, and the other part, and especially with the posts, is to start to get you familiar with using the API and using the information that's available to you, right? How to use that information that's available to you. Any other questions? Going to look at the code real quick, let you know what I did. I'll leave this out there on 106 for a little while. Maybe I'll probably, no, you know what, it'll come down when it's down. If I were you, I would go copy it real quick.
I just want to make sure I understand correctly. We're pulling off of the new WordPress site we have, not the old Inside Out. We're copying content or creating content in the new website.
Do you want me to show you how to do that easily? Bring your content from your old. You can use your old, but I prefer you use your me site, right? One of the things that actually we can cover in here that I want to cover future classes, it's a big plan, which is in Web 100 you build these 2 sites, right? So part of that in Web 1.15, part of the idea is that we learn how to merge or bring content together. So we'll talk about that in a minute, okay? And you have backup, so you should not be scared to do these things. First of all, I just want to touch this code real quick and show you what I did, and it's up to you with what you want to do. All right. I think we pulled in Font Awesome in 105. Did we? No? I think we have Font Awesome. If we don't have Font Awesome in, it's up to you if you want to try to go grab the link to Font Awesome. But here's what I'm doing. I'm kicking out and going for the AJAX call for get posts. To be honest with you, shame on me, I would probably move this up here. Why? Because what this is doing is it's putting this little piece of code inside of the latest post div. Inside the latest post div right here, it's injecting that piece of code inside there. And all it is cogs and letting the person know loading posts. So it just sits in there and it just will load the posts. When I get the response back, I'm doing something we all know, which is grab the item. The next thing I'm doing is I'm using a little bit of JavaScript magic, not even magic, but built-in JavaScript. And what I'm doing is I'm grabbing that item date. Come on. Am I just completely missing it? Oh, item date, sorry. Right? I'm pulling this in. And what I need to do is take that string and I need to extract the pieces of information out of it that I want. That's date and time. All I want is the date. So the way that I can do that with JavaScript, which is pretty cool, is I can say, hey, JavaScript, create a new date object and use this information that I'm getting from the API call, right? Use this date that I'm getting. Yep.
Why did you use the word item? I understand where date comes from in the API call.
Because item is what's bringing that in.
I got you.
And I'll keep changing that on you because I want you to become familiar with the fact that it has nothing to do with the name that's there, right? It's the fact that we're declaring a variable in here to capture all that data that's returned. Does that make sense? Most times you'll see people use item and data, or object.
Data was the last one, right?
What?
The last one you used was data.
I think so. And you might see me put poop in there sometime, right? Because I'm just trying to reinforce the point that it doesn't matter. You could put supercalifragilisticexpialidocious in there. But now you have to, everywhere you put item, you have to put, you get what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to drive home that these if you notice in the code, I don't expect you to be like rocket scientists about it, but I think you'll notice as you work with me that it's like, because I want you to know that it's not important. I want you to be comfortable.
That's where I was getting confused last night, because I was going through the AJAX call, and I was trying to figure out, how am I going to create an AJAX call, and, I'm like, where did the term data originate? Where's the original, the source of it?
Right.
Not realizing that it's just
So,
a variable.
right, so that would work.
Right at that point.
Yep. And that would work, right? So all I'm doing here is I'm saying item, date. Item, date. Makes sense? I'm telling JavaScript to create a new date object. Huh?
With a capital D.
Yes, because that's a JavaScript, right? And JavaScript is basically taking that string date in and parsing it into pieces by every time it sees a dash, and then it knows with the T, every time it sees a colon, right? It's parsing it, it's breaking it into little pieces. So what you end up in that object with is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. So basically like an array.
So in this case, date is already like a predetermined
Yep, it's a JavaScript function. It's a built-in
built-in.
method. Yep. Yep. So then we're saying, right, we put this loader in. Once we have our information back, we're going to go ahead and we want to replace the loader. But what we want to do is we're doing a for each. So until we're completely done loading all 5, we want that loader to stay there. Correct? And so what we're going to do is we're going to insert each one as it loops through. And we're going to insert it before the loader. We're going to prepend them. So at this point, we go out, item, title, rendered. Item, title, rendered, right? And then we want to put the date underneath, right here like that. So we're using that date object that we created, that JavaScript date object that we created, myDate. And because myDate actually has this whole object inside of it, right? Inside that object is something called getMonth, getDay, getFullYear. And it'll return exactly what we just asked for. Once this is done looping through to 5 times, then I say remove that post loader that I put up there.
And the span says take it to the next line. Correct?
What's that?
Span, if I remember correctly, that's like take up the rest of the line there. So take it to the next line.
Well, span is actually a line item, and we're putting it inside of a paragraph. But because of the space that we have, it's bumping it down in there. Plus, the CSS is telling it to bump down in there. Makes sense? As a matter of fact, I believe it's in the CSS that's making it return down a line. Otherwise, it would just rest up against this space here, up against the name. Does that make sense? So, that, my friends, is exactly what you have to work with. How many of you feel super intimidated? So what I would love to see you do is act like developers. And what I mean by act like developers is over the next couple days, I would love to see a lot of communication on Slack, an occasional link to Google Hangout, like, hey, let's stop talking about this on here. I set up a Google Hangout. Why don't we join, and why don't we look at each other's code? Why don't you guys work through it together and help each other? Don't just take it on yourself. And I don't care if all of you end up with the exact same code because you all work together and work through it together. That's fine. I'm not going to jump in on our channel or on general. I'm not going to help you unless you reach out to me on direct message me on Slack or whatever, unless you personally connect with me and say, holy shit, I'm throwing the flag in on this. I just can't. But if I don't see you in the general channel, in general, or in our, more importantly, Web 115 channel, don't bother. Right? Don't bother asking me. Because I want to see you guys start to act like developers. I want to see you guys start to form relationships that, believe it or not, 10 years from now, you might be leveraging. Because I promise you, there are times that I'll reach out to someone I haven't talked to for 4 years because I know they're doing something that I need help with, and they're more than happy, even if they don't like me. Why? Because they like having me in their back pocket too. You know what I mean, right? Right? It's always good. I mean, you guys, whether it's a comfort or not, is one thing. But, you know, one nice thing that you guys know, leaving here and moving on and whatever, is you always have me to call back to. Well, why not start to establish that on a broader sense? So I welcome you to work together on this in groups. I welcome you to work together on this as an entire class. I don't welcome you to freeload and piggyback on someone else's efforts. I don't. But we have some people in here, some of you that are scared, I get it, or, you know, like, ooh, this might be a big challenge. But I do believe that there's a couple people in here who probably just get it. But they might not get another part that you get. You know what I mean? And where I would start, if I had to deliver this project by Sunday and I knew I had a group of resources available to me, where I would start, which I'm going to leave in about 3 minutes and let you guys take the rest of the class because I do like this idea so much and have a conversation. Where I would start is declaring a project manager or a couple project managers, meaning is there someone who can just help coordinate communications? And let's get together for a conversation on Slack or something like that, and I will give you class on Thursday to work together. That's how important this is to me, yeah. I'll give you Thursday to work on this together in class. But where I would start is, Miller, what are you comfortable with? Can you work on that part? Jimmy, what are you comfortable with? Can you work on that part? Nelson, what are you comfortable with? Right? You get the point I'm driving at here? And then, you know, somebody says, hey, what about the post calls? And we get 4 hands up, you know. Hey, why don't you guys focus on the post part? Let's bring it together. And then Thursday, I will allow you to consume the class, consume the resources, to have conversations about ideas and thoughts and what you're doing. I love this. I didn't even think about this till now.